Okay.
This is Angie Eggers. We're going to be doing an oral interview with Angie, and we are also videotaping it a little bit. And Angie, the day is October 9th, 2005. We're in Angie's home. She lives in Kirkland, and it's in Juanita area. And you are? How old are you? Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, sure. I was born the year that women got the right to vote. Signed, sealed, and that's what I tell people. Signed,
we have to
sealed,
go and
and
look.
ratified. And then, if they want to know how old I am, they have to look.
They're looking up. Good for you.
It was on January 19th, 1920. Anyway, I was born April 29th, 1920. So it makes me 85 and a half.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Angie, when did you come to Kirkland?
Came to Kirkland in 1950. We lived in Lake Forest Park, but at that time, and then we moved over on this side of the lake. We were in the far reaches of Lake Forest Park, where Alderwood Manor is, at the time. And we moved over here then. It was when he was in construction, but he thought he ought to have a tavern, so he bought this little ratty tavern in Kirkland, and it was a family tavern. It was fun. Friday night we had live crummy music and family people, and it was fun. We had that for 9 years, but he was in construction.
And where was this tavern?
Oh, it's where Wells Fargo is now, down in Juanita.
Okay.
Do you know where that is?
Mm-hmm, I do.
And
And that was in 1950 or 1960, which?
that was in 1960.
1960.
That's when we took over that tavern and moved over here at the same time.
And what was the name of the tavern?
Oh, it's called Maple Grove.
Maple Grove Tavern?
Yes. And when we sold it, we sold it to a fellow that didn't do exactly nice things with it. He called it the Detour, and lots of people probably remembered it that. But it was totally different from a family tavern, family dances on Friday and Saturday night. Totally different. And lots of people have told us they never came back since you don't sell the tavern, you sell the business, the license. So we did that, and we were in construction. Every time he took over a business, he also had, in 1973, he had a 76 station in Juanita, and that's when they had that gas crunch. That 1973, do you remember that?
Yes.
Last gas
Yes.
crunch. So we had to unload the tavern then, because they wanted us to buy so many accessories, commonly called TBA, tires, batteries, and accessories. And my husband didn't want to do that. You know, you put out $2,000 or $3,000 you didn't have. So we got rid of that.
So you got rid of the tavern, or you got rid of the station?
We got rid of the station in 1973,
Okay.
but he took over another one out by the little schoolhouse in Woodinville, Little Red Schoolhouse. We were across the street from that, out where they built the winery. Yeah. And anyway, my part in all of this was, besides catering breakfasts and all, I was the gopher. Do you know what a gopher is?
Yeah, you go for
You-
it.
Okay.
Kept you ready.
You go for this and you go for that. You go for car parts and you go for this, and that's what it's go for.
Did you have your own vehicle?
I had my own. Yeah, and he did too. He had a pickup, of course, and he had an employer too, but generally he had me. And besides taking care of a 14-year-old at the same time, 13 or 14, it was a very something I wasn't wholly wanting to do, you know, because she needed me, and 13 and 14's that age. So. Anyway, it turned out all right.
Yeah.
She's a good kid.
How many children did you have?
3.
3.
Yeah, we had our son, who is now retired. He retired from Wells Fargo. He worked there, and he was always a salesman. And then our other daughter, she lives at Squim, and she's here now. She's over at her daughter, but she lived in Bellevue. She her work was accounting for people, companies. And then our younger daughter, she was born 12 years later. She was born 12 years after our first daughter, and she has worked in San Francisco all the time lately, and she has 4 children. I have 9 grandchildren and 5 great-grandsons. The youngest one is 2, and he went to France with his parents yesterday, his father being French.
Well, Angie, when you moved to Kirkland, or Juanita area in 1960.
Right.
Where had you been before that?
Before that, well, where we lived over on 148th, that was Kirkland. That was around Kirkland. Then we moved
Was
here.
it?
And this was
148th, where it's now Bellevue, was Kirkland?
right. We had a Kirkland address, Route something, 2456, Route 1 or something. And then
In 1960, and when did you move there? What year?
we left there in 1960 to come over here. But we moved there in, I think it was 52, when our youngest daughter was a baby. That was across the street from where Leverett's is now.
What's on that, how much land did you have?
We had 2.5 acres.
And what's on that land now?
I think it's mostly that intersection.
Where Sears is?
148th and that intersection that goes down, I don't know where all it goes. It's across the meadow from Group Health Hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well,
So that was before Sears was there.
that's right, and before anything was there, and we thought we'd have all the assessments, I guess is what it was, for street and building and everything, so that's why we thought, we were a thorn in their side for 2 years before we moved, because it was a little house, and it was our house, and but we thought we'd better move, so we did. So I had to go find a place. This was it. This didn't look impossible. You know, I didn't think it was gonna last 45 years.
Was this an old house when you bought it?
Right, this was an old Finn Hill house. One of the Finn Hill houses, and this was the farmhouse. Each of these 2.5 acre strips had a farmhouse out by the street, and I've seen 4 or 5 little Finn houses crushed down. You know, it just kills you. They bring these big things in and take down your house, the old house, and people tell me now if I ever sold, this is what they're gonna do, they're gonna take it down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they will, because the wiring isn't modern, you know.
The land is valuable.
Yeah,
And
plumbing
just
isn't,
Kirkland land.
yeah, plumbing isn't modern. A bank, it would, if I sell it, it'll be to a builder. But I'm not planning on that, because it's easy in and easy out, I don't have any steps. But these Finn Hill homes were all alike. I mean, they're more or less floor plans, as if they had a house building or get the Finns together, and they had a place up the street where they had their parties, and there's still an old sauna covered with wisteria up on Nonigan's place right over here. And I asked her to take a picture of it for me, would you? And she said, yeah, she would, but she forgot. She's busy, you know, so many things.
We can sneak in and do that.
You know Nona?
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart. Yeah. So anyway, where are we? I get distracted.
Okay, this area, the house was built here, and so this was considered Finn Hill.
That's right, Little Finn. And
Little
that's
Finn.
Big Finn over there.
Big Finn on top of the hill,
Over
and
here.
this is Little
This is
Finn.
Little Finn. However, later it was called, I think, Kirkland Heights or something like that.
Okay.
But these 2.5 acre strips, each of these farmhouses had, I can count 4 or 5 right here, had 2.5 acres, maybe 2 1/4 with certain assessments taken on. And each one now has 7 homes on it, mostly, except for the one up next door has 6 big homes on it.
So do you have 2 acres here?
Hmm?
Do you have 2 acres right now? Do you have 2 acres on this house?
No, I just have this one lot.
Okay.
The lots were all sold. Could have got that one next door in 1960 for $2,000, but that was a lot of money. Didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So what we're saying is when these houses were built, they were built on 2.5 acre lots.
that's right.
But when you purchased,
That's
you
right.
got one small lot.
That's right,
for
and
your
it is
home.
the biggest one of the bunch. Yeah, but I can see a Farrar home from here, from my kitchen window.
Can you?
Burke and Farrar is the one, he took over after Peter Kirk,
Mm-hmm.
after the Depression
Mhm.
in 1893. Is that when the Depression happened? Anyway, that's, I think, been told anyway, that's when Burke and Farrar got busy and sold all this acreage out here, a lot of it. And across the street, also, there's 7 homes there.
That are Burke and Farrar homes?
Yeah, this is Burke and Farrar acreage. Yeah,
So when was this house built, do you think?
oh, well, I went into Kirkland, into King County Archives, and they only have a record from 1945. But it was, I would think it was built about 1914. But it had a house fire. That's why you see there's no eaves on the house, because the house fire was about 1945 when King County has the records, and they sent me the pictures. It has no eaves, because during the war years, you couldn't get the material.
Yeah.
And when you see a lot of these old homes around Kirkland without eaves, you can just think they were built probably about 1942 or something like that, when there wasn't the material.
Right.
So that's why this looks like this now. It could probably be of historical registry if we didn't change the siding and we changed all the windows. They were all like little painted windows, you know. But we changed it all. So that kind of lets out. I wouldn't want to be historical society anyway. I would have to let people through my house, I suppose.
Well, we're here.
Well, I don't mean that.
Poking around.
No, I mean anybody that's interested, say, hey, I hear this is historical society, you know, and certain, you have certain tax cuts and all that sort of thing, you know. Something like that. So,
Yeah,
that's
there's
what I've
tax
been told.
advantages.
Hmm?
There's tax advantages.
So,
Well, where did your kids go to school?
my what?
Your children, where did your
My
children go
kid-
to
oh.
school?
They went, Bellevue, when we lived over where Sears is now, they had, I was gonna tell you, it was Route 1 Kirkland, and the kids went to, we had a Kirkland address, Redmond telephone, which is the old Tucker number, remember that?
No.
You don't.
What was that,
and
Tucker?
before your
Did you
time,
say
it used to be
Tucker?
Tucker, and we were Van Dyke, Kirkland, And anyway, they had, we had a Kirkland address, Tucker phone, and Bellevue schools. So the two older ones went to Bellevue High School. Oh, Bellevue High when it was just one story.
So, let me get this straight. You lived where the Sears shopping center is now.
Yeah, well, actually, it was at where Levitt's is, across
Where-
the street,
okay, where
yeah,
Levitt's is.
On 148th.
Okay, so
Well,
where?
it would be 148th and 24th, wow.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's where the Levitt's building is now.
Mhm.
So you live there, and that was a Kirkland address.
Right,
And you had a Redmond phone number,
right,
and we're in the Bellevue School District.
right. Bellevue School, yeah. It was just right on the cusp out
Yeah.
there. And the buses would come from Bellevue and turn around on 100, up on 148. You know,
Mhm.
kids were bused out there. Yeah.
And your youngest child went to school where?
She, let's see, she went to school at, I was thinking she went to Northbrook. Well,
Okay.
wait a minute, in the beginning, she went out at Bellevue at, not Bellevue, well, it was kind of Bellevue. She went there for, I can't remember the name of it now, it had a man's name on it. Anyway, she went there for a couple grades, and then she went to, she,
Norkirk? Or-
I'm trying to think, it was where Heritage Hall is. She went there
Oh,
for a
Kirkland
bit.
Junior High?
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah. And, let's see,
Did you go to Norkirk then too?
then she
Yeah.
went to Northbrook as a grade school,
Mhm.
and it's a junior high now,
Yeah.
yeah, so. And then, she graduated from, Kirkland, Junior High, Kirkland High School, or
Okay, and was it Kirkland High School? What, or was it Lake Washington High School?
Lake Washington High School.
Lake Wa-
Right.
Lake Washington.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And in this area then, there were lots of girls her age, and they were, you know, they had fun. You don't, the kids, right now, there's no place for the kids to play. You can't play in the cul-de-sac, that's too dangerous. And I think that's why they build these big homes now. They don't have any yards because they can only be 5 feet from the line. And fences all around, so there's no place for the kids to play, so they build these great rooms in the
Mhm.
house. You've probably seen those houses with, they call them great rooms or something. I don't know how the kids get together to play, but our kids had fun. You know, she's still good friends with some of the neighbor girls. Several of them.
Well, what did you and your husband do to have fun?
Oh, well, let's see.
You had the
Well, that time
tavern.
TV came in, yeah, we had the tavern we worked at, and, let's see, probably, I don't even remember going to very many movies. Probably went to a movie occasionally, and, that's about it, other than that, we were here resting.
You mentioned that you catered.
Hmm?
You mentioned that you catered, like when you did all your runs, you were a gopher for your husband,
Yeah.
and you said you catered.
Oh,
Did you cater?
I cater his meals.
Okay, where are the gophering?
Yeah, I used to, when he was down at the service station, and also that service station, I would just pick up his meals.
Just checking to see if it's running.
Yeah, I don't know how long. Didn't time it.
You can clip up what you don't want and throw away, huh?
Oh, no, we won't do that.
We-
But it's just all there.
Mm,
We can index it and say what's on
okay.
the changes, you know.
Mm.
I never knew that area was Kirkland.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh,
No,
really,
it's
yeah.
very confusing.
That was right on the cusp out there.
So when you moved here, we had the bridge.
We had what?
The bridge,
The old,
the 520 bridge, you already had the 520 bridge. Did we?
we
Or
had the
did you
old
have to
bridge
take a
down
ferry?
here. The
Did you
bridge down.
take the ferry? Did you take a ferry to Seattle, or did
yeah.
you just take the
Oh,
bridge
we didn't
to
have the
Seattle?
bridge at the time. To Seattle, we went on the old bridge. Not this one. We went on Lake Washington floating bridge.
Okay,
Or we
you
went
went
around.
on the
If we didn't have
I-90.
the bridge, we went around.
Okay.
You know, there's a bit of history that's lost. I don't know what it is. When we lived in Lake City too, at one time before we moved over here. There, for 2 or 3 years in a row, they had what they called a heel and toe, and people would get together like they jogged for something now, and they would heel and toe clear around Lake Washington and through Kirkland. They would go through Lake City, and it was like jogging, only they called it a heel and toe race.
Mhm.
And I haven't heard that brought up, but I know for 2 or 3 years,
And who did this heel and toe?
you'd sign up for it. You, I
Was
don't
it
know
to
if
make money? Was it a fundraiser?
I think it was a fundraiser, or maybe just a fun thing. I don't know. I know it happened, and there were usually men that did it because it's a matter of 52 miles around the lake, I think, wasn't it? That time,
think so.
they would go around the lake and just walking, you know. Looks funny, this heel and toe as they walk. It's kind of a gating.
Yeah. Now, did anyone you know do that?
No, no. And that was a long time ago. Now, that must have been about 1950, maybe, yeah. But you don't, I've never seen it brought up or seen it mentioned. It must be
Never heard it.
somewhere in the archives, you know.
Well, Angie, where were you born?
I was born in Snohomish, out in the country, at a country doctor. It did not record this birth. I had to get my passport, which I've never used. I had to go as far back as Indiana to get it because they didn't have a record of it, and I tried. But Dr. Rant, you know, doctors weren't thorough like they are nowadays. He came out 5 miles out in the country one night, and here I was born. Wiped me off the books. So I really had to go through something to get this passport. But,
So how could you prove that you were born then? You know?
no,
Was it
what
written
I
in the
had was
Bible, or you just always knew?
I think it was, maybe somebody had vouched for me. My mother and father were both gone then. They both lived to be 93. But, yeah. Dad came from Switzerland and went to Canada to work because he had to get vouched for in the United States.
Mhm.
There were lots of the Franchies, lots of relatives, and lots of them down in the wine country and down in South Park and Seattle. There was a LaFranchi dairy. LaFranchi, I think they call it, make it sound Italian sounding. Yeah. And my mother, he went to study the language and went to Oklahoma A&M, which is now Oklahoma University, or Oklahoma College in Oklahoma City. And him and his brother went there to study. And then he met Mother back there. And he brought her out here the day after they were married. They met back there and were married and came out here. I hate to say this, but he never took her back to the country. And they raised 4 children here. And I haven't met any of my relatives. I've met one, who's my father's brother and my mother's brother from Oklahoma. And I have lots of pictures and that was the ancestry. Anyway.
So they ended up moving to Snohomish
Yeah,
right
Dad
there when
had
they were
property.
married?
Yeah, you know, like these immigrants will do, first thing you do is secure a job, secure property. And he did buy some property out at Snohomish, 13 acres, which turned out to be a chicken ranch. When he brought Mother out, I think he built the chicken house first. Then he built the house. But, lived there for 18 years before I ran away and got married. Dale's folks moved in out there too. Dale's, my husband's family were loggers. But, oh, a lot of memories. I gotta tell him, are we talking now?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Oh, do you want me to stop?
No,
I'll stop it.
I don't care, you can,
If you want me to stop it, if you
No,
want to say
that's
something you don't
okay.
want recorded.
I won't say anything,
Okay.
no. No, I don't care, no. But, we had fun out in the country, you know, there weren't many of us kids out there, and that's where I got my religious teaching out there. My father probably was Catholic, being from southern Switzerland, they mostly all are. And I think, well, to this day, I know they are. But, my mother probably was Southern Methodist, being from Oklahoma. And so the Catholics and the non-Catholics didn't mingle in those times. And out in the country was an old schoolhouse. I went to so 2-room schoolhouse, 3 rooms. The big room was the playroom, and there was no church out there, so there was an itinerant preacher, you know, traveling guy from Texas, and he started a group in this old schoolhouse when the Depression happened. We got bused into Snohomish, and this two-room schoolhouse, there was 2 rooms. The first 4, one part of it had 4 grades. Each row was a grade, and then the big kids' room was the second room, and each row was a grade there. So, when the Depression happened, we got bused into Snohomish, which was 5 miles away. All these kids got in one bus. Well, I think there were probably some parents. The only work out there was the mills and a couple of big chicken ranches. My father had a big chicken ranch. Yeah, so I learned about chickens. I know where the wishbone is.
Well, I do too.
Were you raised in the country, Louisa?
No.
No.
On the 2-room school or the 3-room schoolhouse,
Mhm.
how was the education? How was that?
We
How
had
did that work?
one teacher in each room, and I think it worked all right. She got around to everybody, and I'm thinking,
Was it noisy?
well, I'm remembering the coat room out there and the lunches, the smell of the lunches in the coat room. That's what I remember. I think we did all right in education, you know, nothing super like today, but they went by the state rules, I'm
Mhm.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
did students help one another? Or did the teacher do all the teaching?
The teachers did the teaching. I don't think they relied on the kids for any grade testing or any playground placing or anything, you know, the way they do nowadays. Yeah.
Well, they always talk about, well, the 1-room schoolhouse, that the older kids would help the younger kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true or not. I have not heard anyone that's actually gone through the experience say
Well,
that.
I wouldn't know.
Well, you got in the older grades, and
Mhm.
so
No, I
again, the
didn't
teacher.
go any farther than the 4th grade there, and
Oh,
then we
okay.
got bused into
Snohomish, so-
Snohomish. we finished our grade school in Snohomish, so I didn't remember that. But I do remember holidays, you know, and the big playroom was full of the fir tree smell at Christmas time, and we'd have a regular Christmas pageant and things like that, just like they've done for years and years. But I remember the feeling of getting together with all these people, you know, because living where we did, we didn't mingle with the people, you know, very much anyway. So when they all get together in this room for the festivities, it was something. One of my fond memories.
Are those buildings still in Snohomish?
No. This grade school, we went, the grade school that we went to isn't there. Out of Snohomish, 3 Lakes is what it was called. Storm Lake, Panther Lake, and Flowing Lake. There were 3 lakes out there. And there was a mill.
We have to turn this around. Should we rewind it just a little bit and play it and see what happens?
Get together. Anyway, we were all, like I say, about a year apart. We were a bunch of those stair steps.
Yeah. And so how did she do? I mean, with 4 children close together and no power and no water?
No power.
What was her day
power
like?
came in 1930 about. Yeah, and then all of a sudden the countryside had salesmen selling electric irons and things like that they never had before. Yeah. No power, no water. The water was brought from the well in a bucket. You dunked your bucket on it, carried it in, and Mom and Dad heated the water on the wood stove and washed this way. My gut rinsed somewhat, but that was country living. With all of that, I think we were pretty happy kids. We weren't, we had chickens to take care of and maybe a cow now and then. No horses. And we'd go for rides on Sunday. The family would pile in the car and go for a Sunday ride, which is not really too far away. But my father worked at Derigo at the condenser in Snohomish after the mill job. Snohomish, 3 Lakes had a mill, a general store, and they didn't have any electricity either. And you go in there and you could hear the water running and see the water running down the window. I think that's somehow they pumped the water in from the lake as a cooler.
Oh.
I don't know what else. They didn't have refrigeration in those days. So that must be what all that water was, and that was in the general store. Yeah.
And there was no electricity in the general store?
Yeah. Once a year, Dad would buy baby chicks, and we have these baby chicks in the house. And various other things.
Did you, when you were growing up, did your mother bake bread or did she go to the store and buy?
She baked bread in a cook stove. No, she didn't. And she baked cakes and tried to bake a cake in a cook stove. Generally, they were flat, pretty flat, concave cakes. It's pretty hard in a cook stove to keep your wood stove.
In the water heater, how did you take your baths?
In a tub. This same tub that was washing clothes. Not at the same time, but maybe 2 of us would take a bath in this tub, and she was to water them. And then the other two would get the fresh water. That's the only way and we didn't have baths very often. We weren't poor though, we weren't hungry, we weren't complaining.
That's the way it was.
Yeah, that's right, you accepted what you had, yeah. What a time.
Was it fun to go, was it a treat to go like into town? And where you had regular like drinking fountains and bathrooms and that? Was that a treat to do that?
No, we didn't do that. If we went into town, it was for shopping, like in Snohomish. There was a Piggly Wiggly, a grocery store, and a meat market where the butcher had his own meat thing and his own store. And what was fun there, now that I think of it, was a nice thing to do. The people would go to town on Saturday and they'd meet outside of this store or that store and meet in the sidewalk in Snohomish and get together and do their chatting with each other. That was nice seeing that, yeah.
Did you ever go to the movie theater there?
Not until after we were married. We didn't, when Dale and I were married, we had a movie theater, a dime night, and we would go to the theater in Snohomish, which was Brown's, called Dime Night. And we lived a different part of the country then. We were married in 1937. And we would drive in and pick up, what was interesting is we'd pick up somebody along the way, and he was from New Jersey. That was at CCC. You probably have heard of Roosevelt CCC thing, there was conservation corps, and pick up somebody on the way to town that wanted to go into the movies, and kind of like little soldiers is what they were. But they were from New Jersey, the east, where they didn't have anything either. The idea of the CCC was to send some money home. It was Depression, so the CCC kids did that, and besides something for them to do, get them out of town, you know. And they would send them clear across the United States, because those that we knew were from the east, and they probably sent the portion to the kids back there. You know, they sent some firefighting around here. And anyway, now, is there anything else I can chatter on about? Well, I hope somebody will learn from this to get in and do tell their histories, you know.
Yes, well, there's just such little pieces of history that are being lost. Like Little Fin Hill, I've never heard of that. I'm sure people know this, but I didn't.
Oh, really?
This was called Little Fin Hill. No.
There's a flat area up the street, and the reason you see so many birch trees around, I have some now. I didn't get them pruned. I should, because they're kind of dead at the top, kind of crooked. But these birch trees were for the saunas. The Finnish people all had saunas. There was evidence of one in this house, and I've seen them in the houses that were scrunched down. They had these homemade saunas, and there's one place up here where they'd get together and have their parties, and everybody would bring their potluck and whatnot. And when they came out of their saunas, they would switch each other with these birch branches. I think that was for circulation. And the birch branches, as you can see out here, are very thin and spindly. They're not going to hurt anybody, but they switched each other. That was the Finnish thing to do. So, to get the circulation going and fun and whatnot, you know.
Who knows why?
Yeah.
Look that up too.
But they had their, I have a feeling that they had their parties as often as, and I have seen them here. When we were here, there was a Finnish here, and Gus Clevis down here. I have the pictures of their house, and Overson, and I've seen them get together, you know, bring a little something for, they were always just a little clannish, which is fine. Yeah. But there were these homes, so many of them had the entrance off of the street, and they had two entrances, one for the living room and one for the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Formal entry and then the
Mhm.
family entry.
Yeah, and their floor plans were like too, it just made you think that they had house raisings and,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
together.
Well, and then they had saunas.
Yeah. And I know known of Finnish ladies that were, I've seen one or two that would pick up rocks. Always they're looking for rocks. This goes into the sauna, into the
Mhm.
homemade sauna,
Yeah.
you know. They get these rocks and then they put water on them. Get
How
'em
would
out.
they heat? How would they heat the rocks? You know.
Let's see, they had, I think they had 55-gallon drums partly. I remember they were involved in their sauna. There must have been water. They must have been on a bed, a hot bed, and they put the
The water on the rocks
Yeah.
and steam it.
water on the rocks. But it seems like these rocks are also, could have been in these 55-gallon drums. But there's evidence on there's a chimney in here downstairs of the fire that was here before we came. And the old Finnish family that lived here. And
And you never knew them, the people that had the house first?
no.
Were they the original owners, do you think?
I think I have a record of the original owners. I'll show you something. Yeah, there was a real Finnish name, and I don't know how long it had been vacant when we got it. But, there weren't any of these homes around any at the time. But I found, I have a lot of, I had, at one time, this is all, the front yard was all veggie garden.
Mm-hmm.
It's 90 by 130 something. And anyway, this front area had fruit trees on it. And we took all these fruit trees off because they were scroungy, and there's 4 delicious apples, 2 yellow and 2 red. You can't grow delicious apples here.
Oh.
And there was all kinds of fruit trees, and we took them out and had a veggie garden for years and years, several years. I'd process it and give it away. And we had lots of corn and beans and everything. And there's molds out there now. The molds are coming back.
Mhm.
Lots of.
They come and go.
Yeah, they do. They seem to go when it's really dry because their burrows fall in, but I'm getting them back now. But I don't do anything about them. We have coyotes from the creek down here.
Oh.
And when the fire station sounds, you can hear the coyotes. Lots of people, I have seen them. And another thing, recently, during one of these rainstorms, my flat roof leaked. The addition out here is a flat roof, and it leaked. And it didn't hit the computer, but it came close. And I had a roofer out, and he said that what is chewing on the roof, he replaced some asphalt shingles up here. And he said that what was chewing up those were raccoon.
We're having trouble. We thought it was rats. It's the raccoons chewing on our roof.
Oh, really?
It's the deal.
Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Well, my neighbors have seen them, but I've only, my years, I've only seen one raccoon. And it was a big healthy looking thing coming down the street in the middle of the day.
Well, they're nocturnal, so you're probably in the house during, we see them at night.
Well, I hear noises at
Yeah,
night.
it's the raccoons
Oh,
and the possum, but the raccoons make a lot more noise.
oh, yeah.
We heard all this noise on our roof the other night, and Dale went out with a flashlight, and sure enough, it's a raccoon up
Did they go away when they saw the light?
there. No,
No.
no, he just climbed higher.
Oh.
No, they know we're there. I mean, they know, those raccoons know you.
Oh.
Maybe you've not seen them, but they know you're there. They know who you are.
Well, I have two neighbors, one in the house down here and one next door. She said that she's seen them, and she said, "Don't you hear them?" Well, I hear animals. I hear little things. I thought they were probably rats or something. Or squirrels.
Well,
I
there's
know
that too.
the squirrels will try to get in your house.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Raccoons can be a pest.
we got a lot of that. So I don't know. Anyway, he had to come out and replace some things.
What a nuisance.
Yeah. Blame it on the raccoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the coyotes. They eat little puppies and kittens. And, yeah. Good dog.
Have you ever had a bear? Anything like that?
No, I haven't had a bear, but I've seen a lot of deer in years gone by.
Oh, have you?
Just a lot of deer. They like to. I've seen them over across here. He had acreage with nothing on it for a while, and of course he's gone now. But there were several deer over there, and I've seen them run across here. And what I was gonna say is what they like is your tender rose leaves. If your
Yeah, they like the roses, yeah.
if your rose bushes are trimmed up, deer probably did. I haven't seen them lately though, you know.
I just heard a bird. Do you know what that was?
Yeah, my clock.
Hmm?
My
Oh, that's
bird.
your clock. That's your clock.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
I
see
got
that?
tricked.
Yeah,
That's
lots
funny.
of people, it wakes up, that's supposed to be a genuine Audubon sound. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, it tricked me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuine Audubon. Yeah, yeah.
Well, Angie, if you could if you think of anything, you can just give us a phone call or even send us
Okay.
an email.
Mm-hmm, okay.
And we thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, I hope I haven't rattled on.
Well, no, you didn't, and that's what we want people to do. It doesn't matter, because
Maybe
in that
this'll
rattling on, we can
be a
glean
start.
some,
Yeah,
glean some wisdom and history here.
show you my thing. This is full of pictures.
And I'm going to shut it off now. Thank you, Angie.
Oh, you're welcome, anytime.
Okay.
I'm looking for
And
my,
always let it run for a long time afterwards. Make sure you're not cutting off anything, because things kind of get it.
for my neighbor out mowing his lawn. I was looking for that, King County, the thing I sent to King County for
Oh, the picture of the
For your
house?
tax assessor.
picture of the
Yeah.
house.
Well, we can look it up too on your assessment maybe, and see when they say that it was built.
Mhm.
Our house was built in 1914.
What
There
was,
was a lot of building going on. But,
oh, yeah.
but see, was this house built with plumbing? And electricity? Kirkland downtown got electricity in 1914.
Oh, did they? Uh-huh.
And that's when Burke and Farrar started really doing their major development, and there were 3 lots. They were small lots, but they made every house 3 lots, because you had to have a septic tank.
Mm-hmm, we had
And
that.
everyone had a chicken coop, and they all had outhouses as well.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm sure the Finns that were here did, but,
But this was in the country.
yeah.
Man, that was downtown.
Well,
where-
there is a well on the property.
Yeah.
There still is a well on
There
the
is.
property.
Yeah.
At one time, Kirkland sent out a paper for near saying, asking about extra water. Well, the only thing here was, at that time, we never used the water. My husband hooked up to, there was a tank under the house out here, a little motor thing. He hooked it up and found out there was a crack in the tank, so
Oh, uh-huh.
we never used that. We always have had city water years. since 1960 anyway. Yeah. But there is a well here, yeah.
Yeah.
And I declared it, but I have never done anything with it. But so if I ever sell, I think I'll have to sell to a builder. And people tell me, you know, that's what happens to all the houses around. People tell me, hey, you know, if you sell, they're gonna scrunch on your house. You know, they're gonna build a big house, which they will, it being a choice lot at this time. I never thought of it that way. I never thought it would happen.
Well, no, with our house, it'll be torn down, you know, when we're done, it'll be torn down and 2 houses put up, because we have a big yard.
Yeah.
But you can't, you know, you can't stop that, no one's gonna pay that kind of money. We have no closets. I'm sure we're the same situation as are. We have 2 small bathrooms, one we added on. But 2 small bathrooms, no closets to speak of, no storage, no insulation, no good windows. It's just old, and it's neat. I mean, we're not complaining, we like it. But no one's gonna pay that kind of money and shiver and, you know, and not be able to put your clothes away, and, you know,
Besides
they're not
that,
gonna do it.
The way the rules are now, like FHA and all, I don't think the bank will give money unless your house is nearly perfect. It won't loan money. It has
Well,
to be a builder's money that.
Yeah, that's true too. But even if you just happen to have the money, you're not gonna live that way. You know, you just aren't.
Well, that's me. I
Yeah.
could.
And so that's just the reality of it all, and it's too bad. But and you can't afford to sell like to a young family that for what they could afford to build, because I mean that's your nest egg. So you can't afford to do that either.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you could sell it for 1/4 the price and have a nice little family come in here and give them a nice little head start, but that's a lot of charity on your part, so you can't expect people to do that.
Yeah. Well, I've got 4 bathrooms,
Wow.
4 bedrooms now, and 2 full baths.
4
For-
bathrooms for one
But
person.
that isn't original.
Oh, no, she said 4 bedrooms.
No, how many bathrooms?
4 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms and 2 full baths.
Okay, 2 full baths. Do you have
Yeah.
partial baths?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a.
Okay, that's still 2 bathrooms, that's really good.
Yeah, I'll show you
Yeah.
in a bit. And this woodwork is all original. This whole thing is, well, actually, with the house fire, I think their insurance company came in and, some of it's plaster, some of it's plasterboard. Now, this room is plasterboard, but the
Okay.
kitchen is plaster.
Lath and plaster?
Yeah, and you can just tell. And I see remnants downstairs. There are certain posts downstairs that are charred.
Yeah.
And I was told it started from a electric blanket.
Oh,
So I don't
yeah.
But I was out digging, you know, you have to dig these rocks out of these molehills before you mow. And I was out flattening molehills a few years ago and digging the rocks out. It's amazing what a little mole can kick up a big rock. I don't know, moles or wolves or something. Anyway, I found a gold cufflink, and I have it in here now, and I think it's quite gold. And it just made me think of an old fellow came out for Sunday dinner or whatnot with somebody and walked around the house and lost his cufflink. And I was digging around in this molehill right out here, and here's this cufflink. So I kept
Isn't
it.
that amazing?
It just makes you wonder, this guy, probably out for Sunday dinner or someplace and visiting the relatives and,
Yeah.
and anyway,
Fretted and fumed about that, and here you, maybe 100 years later, found it.
yeah,
Or 70 years later,
yeah,
found it.
down in the molehill of all things. So I guess these molehills can be valuable.